Good. So I'm recording. I'm in charge. I'm the big cheese. Everybody else has to bow down. Okay. So I think we had a really good introduction to a review of this course in that we saw just how involved community development can become as we took a look at the seed program, which I thought was really interesting. And we're lucky in that we have both Karan and Belinda who know a lot more about the program than I do, obviously. And it was good to see how my suggestion that a CSO in the future could see itself handling the monitoring and evaluation that will be necessary for a seed, or even if it comes back by another name, some sort of program that deals with empowering people through vulnerable times. Oh, Kenya, oh, I'm the one who has to admit people. Okay, just 1 second. I'm busy admitting people since I'm in charge. I know, Joe.
Good afternoon again.
Yeah, funny. Right, so we were in the middle of that conversation before about, how can a CSO explore opportunities rather than exploit situations. And I think there can often be a very fine line between the two, in the sense that it's one thing for a CSO to have the vision to literally predict some of these emergencies. It's the same thing as if, as if a CSO was to decide to buy up tarpaulin, let's say, before a hurricane, and then sell that tarpaulin. I mean, you don't want to have a CSO looking to go around profiteering from people's hardship. But by the same token, if the CSO is in a position to have a stockpile that would augment or supplement what the government has, then clearly, in a very significant way, you can see that CSO playing a very important role that you do not necessarily want to leave to the private sector, because the private sector, given its profit motive, might be tempted to exploit the situation rather than explore ways to ease the situation, which would be the difference between the CSO and the private sector profit-driven operation.
Do you think if a CSO explore that possibility and then use the funds, not the profit of course, but the
revenue,
the revenue, and publicly give it back, let's just say to the Ministry of Health, to help in the same process, or some organization, but where the public sees that they are not
I didn't pocket the money.
right.
No,
Does that
I don't think you would want to do a straight reimbursement. You don't want to reward the government for not being prepared.
okay?
That's how it would look, I mean.
Right.
So that in future occasions, the government sit back and figure, well, that's CSO to handle that,
So
Very
yeah,
enjoyable.
be careful with that.
Yeah. So the same way with the Red Cross. I mean, you don't see Red Cross, doing cash transfers to the government. I mean, you don't ever want to get them that comfortable, right?
Right.
In countries where the Red Cross has an ambulance service, let's say, you don't want, after sourcing an ambulance, I mean, to give the ambulance over to the Ministry of Health. I mean, The reason why I had to source ambulance in the first place is because you know that there was
Some
missing
lack.
capacity within the
Right.
Ministry of Health. And you want to be able to respond in a different kind of way to the Ministry of Health.
Right.
Right? So, but I do agree that this CSO must be transparent, so that people will know that the new car that Vonnie driving ain't based on the fact that they just sold a whole set of face masks.
Ah, great.
Because remember, the perception is going to be 99% of the reality. If I sell those face masks, the director, one of the directors of the CSO, starts sporting a new RAV4 or something, people will talk.
Right.
Right? So those are some of the things you'd have to, and especially if it's a CSO that was developed using a lot of the maxime talk about not taking vows of poverty and all that. Because I don't expect the head of the directors of the CSO, the paid employees of the CSO, sorry, to not live comfortably, right? I don't want them, getting stuck with an old vehicle somewhere in St. John because they're trying to do community work with an old vehicle, right? They have lives too, right? I want them to be comfortable too. So that I don't believe that a CSO must look as if they're scrounging. And Noja and I always had this $1,000 CSO discussion, as I say, I don't think it makes sense to have a CSO with a vow of poverty. I think that is playing to the gallery and playing to perception.
Okay.
I have a difficulty with that.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Ask sorry, what the acronym means, SEED?
Yeah, I said it out. Karen sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
Last Zoom discussion.
I didn't. Oh, okay.
So when other students go through the recording, they will be able to see it and hear it.
All right.
I read it. Thanks.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. So guys, you see how, we're talking about organizing and starting as CSO, but an aspect that we spent some time on it, but we didn't do it in a formal, structured way, was talking about the moral obligation of a CSO.
So, Steve, before we go all the way to the moral standards, now, there is something that we call informal groups, and informal. It's not a one-time thing. They didn't just form just for one event and they're done. They form for a cause, but they don't operate on a daily or monthly basis. Let me use an example. Right? Most of us were past students of Grand Coda. Who knows Grand Coda? Grand Coda has a lot of past students, or a lot of past beneficiaries, I should say, not students, but beneficiaries. We recognized a glitch in Grand Coda, and we decided that now that most of us would have become young professionals and so forth, we decided that we were going to form an organization or an alumni, but we wanted to be an organization whereby we would source things, we would come up with creative ideas and so forth to start raising funds so that some of the programs we used to have when we were younger, we can bring them back. Because most of them would have failed because of loss of funding and cut off funding from UNICEF and so forth.
Right.
We don't want to get too registered and go through the whole legal registration process and so forth. But most of us who have expertise and so forth, we can use our resources, our human resources as well as our friendly resources and so forth to come up with things that would assist in the organization. We want it to be an informal organization, but with some structure in terms of having a president, having a chairperson and so forth. We have that structure, but in terms of the legality and so forth, what those kind of CSOs, how do we really operate? Because, for example, if we decide to write a grant proposal for some funding, we may have a problem, we have a challenge, because most grants...
You're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Because you see, in the same breath you say that they want to be informal, but you have a structure. It's kind of hard to walk that line. Because what an external person will tell you, the first thing they'll tell you is, why don't you strengthen Grand Coda? Now, I can have an idea of what some of the issues might be, but they're going to ask, why are you doing things on the sideline as an alumni, but you're not prepared to be identified with the original organization itself? Is it because the original organization has a structure that, that is limiting, or a directorship that is limiting? As I say, you don't have to go into the details yet because we already called the name of the organization. What I'm saying is that if I was working at an external agency, if I was working at the UN, in any UN agency, and you sent in a proposal to me, the first thing would be, why can't you do it through Grand Coda, which is already registered, which is already recognized, which already has a track record of producing very good beneficiaries like yourself. So the first thing I'd ask you is, so why not strengthen Grand Coda? So let me ask you, why not strengthen Grand Coda?
Well, you have a solid point. The idea was the first thing, well, they're the primary stakeholders, so we engage them 100%. They were on board with some of the things that we decided to do. I mean, if we're doing a project, as you say, that might be the key thing to do in terms of channel it through them. But it's just that we're going to be using our expertise and our resources and so forth. But in terms of putting a name to proposal, it may just be Grand Coda rather than the Grand Coda alumni. So you have a point.
But I'm still telling you, why aren't you operating as, let's say, like a unit, as it were, within Grand Coda? Why do you have to be outside and recognized as the alumni that helping Grand Coda from the outside? That usually tells me, based on my experience, that there's a reason why I don't want to be identified under the full original umbrella of Grand Coda. Am I right?
It's not really that, See, most of us have private lives, very busy and so forth. And then most of the people are now in foreign countries. So it's just a few of us who are in Grenada. So most of the others are in the United States, United Kingdom, and so forth. But we just want to build an alumni whereby we can actually operate, secure fundings. It's mainly for Grand Coda programs. Everything
I know,
would
but
be
let me stop you, Carl. Why would GBSS, Alumni Association, not do things through the school?
Well, for a lot of reasons. One, they're trying to create their own face, their own space, their own name.
Yeah, but their own name is based on GBSS. I mean, everything they're doing should be for GBSS. So if they're raising funds to build a new auditorium, the auditorium is going to be in GBSS compound. I can't see the alumni for GBSS building an auditorium, if you understand where I'm heading. Building an auditorium for GBSS out in Plains.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense at all.
Right. So once you keep telling me that, the alumni wants to operate, they want to do projects and things, if it is for Grand Coda, why isn't it in Grand Coda? If it's for GBSS, why are you building an auditorium? Why are you collecting funds? Let's say, why are you throwing off? Let me give you a different example. Let us assume the guy in Wagiti is a GBSS old boy, right? I don't know. Let's assume, right? So Wagiti decides, okay, look, now having a big fundraising bingo and whatever, in stadium, right? Charging $65 or whatever. All proceeds go to whom? Not GBSS. Will he be able to get away with saying, the GBS Alumni Association is having a great grand fundraiser, and the funds will be used to fix playing field, or to put lights in playing field? It would not make sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
GBSS Passport Association, how they function, their fundings are, they operate as a statutory body, right? When I say that as and the school itself does not have direct access to those fundings.
No, I have no difficulty with that.
Only when there is a cause or a need, then they would release via their own means and method. But the school, because even I remember,
do they release it to Anglican High School?
No, it's a GBSS, of course.
That's what I'm saying. So that
Yeah.
I have no difficulty with the fact that they maintain a certain amount of control on the funds because
Right. That's what I was going to say next.
You know why? Because they don't want it to be at discretion of the principal and the ministry.
That's
What it boils
right.
down to. And that's why
That's
I'm trying to corner Karen. I'm trying to corner Karen to get him to at least start suggesting that it's a matter of whether you want to give the absolute control over to Glen Coda itself, the Glen Coda directorship. Because there's what I'm getting a vibe that, you know, you kind of have the feeling that, you know, it would be better run if you guys made the decisions as to how the proceeds are being spent.
And I understand Karen's concern because I've been affiliated with Grand Coda for years, not as a stakeholder, but as well, yeah, I would say a stakeholder based on the company I worked with in the past. So we used to be a funding agent. And what I'm saying is it used to be managed and basically run, even though there was a corporate. And we all know that one individual was basically controlling the whole thing.
Right.
So I understand where he's coming from, but then again, I guess that's why we're in a class like this.
Right, so without telling tales out of school, Karen, you understand why it wouldn't sit down well with me if I was with the UN?
I understand.
Good.
But I don't go in jail. I'm not going to jail, so I don't even respond to somebody things that you say.
Well, right, yeah. I don't understand why all of you, in these hard times when bananas are so popular, I don't understand why I don't want to spend time ripening fig, you know. But anyhow, that is for you guys. So everybody cleared me, right? In the how we took two issues that seem to be tangential to what we, you know, what we are all about, and see how they come right back into the whole CSO garden. Yeah.
Very much so. Very much.
Cool. All right. So what I'm gonna do is share my screen with you guys, and we're gonna go through the curriculum for the course, and we're gonna see if we hit all the high points, and we'll see if, you know, what I promised you that Friday, that Monday evening on February 10th, if we're anywhere close to achieving that, right? So those of you who joined us late, when we were on WhatsApp, I was saying that, I mean, you know, can you imagine it? We had 48 contact hours already, you know, on this course. So imagine how much it took out of me to put up with all here for 48 hours. I mean, you know, Lord. Comments?
No comments, none.
No comment at all, none.
Comments loading.
Only one comment. I think I lost my course curriculum. Someone sent it to me, I lost it. Could I have it back again, please?
Yeah, it's gonna be on the screen, and I'm gonna send it over after the session. Okay?
Very much.
Okay, guys, you guys seeing my screen?
I'm looking at it.
Yes, I'm seeing.
Okay. So we started off with this grand idea that, you know, the course will be called Organizational Design for Civil Society Organizations. You see the number of credit hours, 45. So we have exceeded that. So you guys could congratulate yourselves that you're able to put up with whoever was lecturing this course for more than 45 hours. Take a look at the specific objectives. And I hope you remember who designed this course. And when the fool was designing it, he didn't know he would have to come and teach it there. So he went all out. And
That's
now
where
I'm
we show
stuck
we
with
get
it.
the best, eh?
Hmm?
That's where we show we get the best. We get it from.
No, I'm not really sure we get it best. Just somebody who wasn't sure that he would be the one doing it. So if I knew I was the one doing it, I would not put all this work in it. Anyhow, so the specific objectives were, and I want you to, you're commenting as you go along. Eh? Okay? Everybody is free to comment. As I say, you're marked in already, so
Okay.
it's not as if you're going to failure based on what you say. To provide trainees with a brief historical overview of international and regional CSOs, to prepare trainees to oversee the design, establishment, and incorporation of a CSO. Take that. And third, to expose trainees to developing trends in the rules, structure, reporting styles, and methods of delivery for CSOs. Have we done that?
Yes, we have.
Cool,
Yes, we
because
have.
people are going to be asking you, you know.
Yes, we did. We did.
Once I give you a passing grade and think Dr. Tesfa might meet in the road and ask you, Dr. Tesfa might meet in the road and ask you, just that course, I see you get a good grade in. You already have any idea what went on there? You better be prepared to say yes. So come back and take the grade.
I think most of the street participants and the street trainees could answer to those objectives.
Cool. All right, so let me tell you what we would have gone through in our own little way in those face-to-face classes and some of the, not some, the rest of the online courses. So we went through civil society organizations in terms of the definitions, the rules, types, right? The legal and legislative boundaries. Remember when you talked about those that you needed an authorizing agency for, you know, like a lead body. We talked about upward and downward accountability. Remember that? Those are some interesting
Yeah.
in class when we talk about that. Talk about transparency of relationships, the sources of funding. And then we talk about the numbers and strengths of the membership. You know. Just hold on a second. I think somebody is trying to get in that I have ignored. Hold on a second.
I think that was my mic, so I just muted it.
Sorry?
My mic was on, so I just muted it because I got a notification.
Oh, okay. Noja, are you with us?
Hi.
Noja?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I wasn't seeing you online. Okay, great. Okay. I thought you were still having difficulty logging on. All right. Yeah, so we talked about the numbers and the strength of the membership. Because as I kept saying, you know, regardless of the listed membership of CSOs, most of them tend to boil down to, you know, 5 key people as a year-round kind of operation, you know? And I think those of you who belong to CSOs would know that that is, you know, a sort of rule of thumb, you know, that you never have participation by the full membership all the time, you know? And usually it's the board of directors and some key people who tend to be up front and center most of the time.
Yeah, all the time.
yeah. You know, some of the worldwide distribution, so, you know, we give my style, you know, that was something that we just would gloss over or read about that. You know, we don't waste face-to-face time to do that. And then we spend a lot of time on CSOs by agency, by activity, sorry, and type. So we went in this, we had some discussion on, you know, on the religious ones, it's community-based, philanthropic, you know, the Bill and Melinda Gates type, the expert groups and trade unions. I'm sure when the first time when you all saw that on the listing, you had no idea that you would actually be forming an expert group, did you?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Not thinking about that in 1,000 years time.
Right.
It wasn't on my mind either.
So then we have the business CSOs and the government-oriented CSOs, which we.
Hello?
I remember the first night I told you was about gongos, and so the government organized, non-governmental organization. But as I keep reinforcing, for the purposes of this course, we are talking about those voluntary, non-profit, internally self-governed. Okay. So
Yeah,
we know what
Yes.
we're talking about, all right?
Yeah.
And what determines the power of a CSO? And you see that big word there, that first one, capacity. That is what we are hoping. When I say we, your CSO is hoping to impact, right? By building the capacity of all the other CSOs in Grenada, because your clientele is every CSO in Grenada. Yeah, because you have something that will help them in terms of building their capacity by offering them services and advocating for sustainable community development practice. Yeah. So the tailor-made for you guys. We talked about sustainability, of course, which is the operating in such a way that you have resources, have access to resources basically on a continuous basis. And we spend a lot of time talking about what resources entail. And what I think was one of the first big eye-openers, if I'm to judge by the reaction in class, was when I talked about skills audits. And I challenged all of you that you'd never been in an organization that did a skills audit.
Yeah, that one was something that was the first time. I know we did it when you study, but in terms of in an organization, that was a surprise to me there.
And I think that is what would eventually separate this course from more traditional courses, in that we approached it from an angle there that that really stressed on experiential learning. I mean, I am someone that came out of the andragogic school, so I believe in teaching adults. You do not treat adults like empty vessels that you're pouring information into. You're looking to take their experiences and work with it. And I hope that when you guys go on to do community-based training, and so that you approach all your, I shouldn't say all, but most of your operations like that, where you remember that you're dealing with adults. These are people who have had experiences already. They would have particular views on certain things. And if you just go in there with this pedagogic style where you come, these are little children that you're coming to teach, then you're going to get some resistance. You're going to meet some resistance. Because I'm sure if the first day I had walked in that room there in TAMCC and tell you all, well, you all don't know that more community development. I'm here to teach you about community development. Everybody would have stoops and walk out. Because I'm talking to people who, this is what you guys do for a living. Right? Agreed?
Yes.
Right. So I know that I'll definitely get my head bust if I walk in that first Monday evening and say, my name is Steve Maxime, I'm an expert. You can imagine how that would have gone down.
It's bag pompous and fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing that did for me, though, it gave me a big eye opener because it helped me to recognize that we were basically dealing with our CSO or our groups based on the norms or based on customs and tradition. And what it has done is, what a different tweak to things, a different light, a different side of this whole thing. So I think that we would have been equipping ourselves right now for the 21st century.
Well, I mean, as I said, I tried. I mean, I remember that first night we were there. I remember that the unit wasn't working properly. I remember that I was sweating, but I also remember that you guys looked eager, which is something that you really don't want to lose when you're in a training program or in a course of study. Anytime you lose that enthusiasm, anytime you lose that eagerness, then one or two things going on. Either the facilitator not bringing out the best in you. Two, you're really not interested in the topic. I mean, you really don't see it in your future. Or three is a combination of the two. You're already not interested, and then you have a facilitator who isn't exactly inspiring. So, as you guys have learned, well, not learned, but have seen from me, I take the responsibility of the communication. Anytime you don't understand, it's not that you're stupid. It's not that you're dumb. It's just that I have not explained it properly or have not sought your views. So anytime I stop because somebody has asked me a question, it's always with the point of view of understanding where that person is coming from, what is their background, and what is it about the way that I'm presenting it that is not getting across. Because remember, I'm not looking for agreement. I think you guys have realized that already. I am putting forward a view. I'm quite prepared to change my view. I'm not coming from any text that I wrote or that that I believe in almost biblical proportions. I'm coming based on a certain set of experiences. My experiences have not been yours, right? I've never worked with a seed program, right? So if I were to come and just make an announcement about seeds and say, I feel they should be doing so and so and so and so and so and so, I think Belinda and Karen will be quite correct in just tuning out because I obviously don't know what I'm talking about, right? But if I tell you that, okay, I would have worked on something in Belize that seemed sort of similar, do you agree with this perception? Do you agree with this way of operating? Then you could easily get engagement because remember, engagement is not agreement. And I think we have seen it throughout the entire, 8 weeks or whatever it has been. I am not looking for you to agree with me. I'm putting forward a point of view. I'm suggesting a way of looking at it, and I am starting off by being open to being changed as well. So if I start off with this thing that is my way or the highway, or I know already, or you better learn too, then we will not make any progress, and it would be unfair for me to start you off like that because it means that, God forbid, you graduate and you have a few letters behind your name, you're going to go out there with that same stupid attitude too and start telling people what you know and you qualified and you're this and you're that, right? And that humility, it's just what it is, that humility starts off from a basic position of knowing that you don't know everything. And since you don't know everything, there's a possibility that even the person who you think you know more than might be able to show you the way. And if you close off that door, if you close off that channel, then clearly you're at a loss. Because not only you're not going to learn from the Carolans, from the Glendas, from the Jeanettes, you're not going to learn from them either. Because you're going to shut them down. And you need these people to fashion your worldview. Because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a worldview. We're talking about a way of looking at the world and CSOs that is going to have impact, hopefully, which is the next word. So you want to build a capacity, you want to ensure that there is sustainability, but you want to have impact. And you have to be bright enough to know that impact is both negative and positive. Because from the time I walked in the other Monday, I made an impact, both negative and positive. There was some negative impacts because there have been people who sat down there and figured out, shucks, you ain't right, you look like the kind of person that could teach you so. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there have been people who come in there and say, oh Lord, I thought it was a woman teaching this, a whole reason, a whole host of reasons. But I would hope that as we started interacting, and you started getting a sense of where I'm heading and what I'm about, that, you know, the impact, would have been mostly positive. Because there's always negative impact, don't get me wrong. I have some views that, that may not have gone down well with everybody, So that's not something that I am particularly happy about, but that's life. So we are talking about CSOs and international development community. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that, people. I'm sure you're here in your business. I hit my business. Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Yeah. So CSO case studies within CARICOM, but I mean, I'm a walking case study. A lot of people refer to me as a case. We won't get into the ramifications of that. But we talked about a step-by-step CSO startup kit. And I think this is what really struck me. Even when I was writing it up in Barbados, I was in Barbados in 2018 when I was writing some of these courses, and it struck me that, why talk about a step-by-step CSO startup kit without actually doing it, And then, of course, the CSO of the future, which, as Glenda said earlier, it's preparing you for the rest of the 21st, this year, 21st century. Yeah. So, any comments, queries about the course of study that you would have just technically just concluded?
We cool.
Yeah. Wow. That's as enthusiastic as you'll get. Nice.
I think it was a great course. Like I said before on the group chat, and I thought that the time spent was very interactive and fruitful. And it definitely will help me with what I've been doing so far for the longest while in my community. It'll help me improve on my approach and the way I do things. I have a different vision. I have a different outlook on things now.
But in terms of the 10 topic areas, is there any section that you feel that we need as a group to talk about before we go into the final session on Wednesday? So maybe sorry, before you say that, what I'm going to do again is, as I said, send you a copy of this and the objectives, and I want you to be comfortable, because that's how I know if somebody passed this course. If you are comfortable with that curriculum and those objectives, then as far as I'm concerned, you've passed this course, as opposed to you're picking the right 3 questions to answer and get 60 marks, and then everybody say you passed the course. And then 2 weeks later, if I ask anything about any of those 10 sections, you don't have a clue, right? So I think you all spend enough time with me to know how I operate. I want you to really take a look at the curriculum, take a look at this course outline, take a look at the objectives, and see if you're comfortable with most of it. So sorry, Karen, was it Karen was attempting to say something just now?
It was me. I was gonna say something about the legal boundaries. To be honest, I was a little bit distracted when you were touching those there. So yeah, that's the only one I think I probably have to do.
Which one? Sorry.
Legal boundaries.
Oh, okay, okay. Mhm.
Legal and legislative boundaries, yeah.
Okay. Now, if I just go through some of them, authorizing agencies, and so we talked about CAIPO and what are some of the agencies you have to go through here. Accountability, especially upward and downward, is of those five, sections within legal and legislative boundaries. That's the one I'm really, really, really most concerned about in terms of it is the one that tends to be breached the most.
Right.
That people feel that they are accountable upward to the donors,
But not downward, yeah.
but not downwards.
I think the recording is going to end at any moment.
Okay, all right. So, Karen, can you take over when I sign off here, please?
Oh,
And we do the
no
final
problem.
minutes with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So let me just stop sharing the screen and end the meeting, right? So that we have a strong recording that everybody can have access to, including your colleagues who weren't able to join us on Zoom. And then we do the last 15, 20 minutes on Karen's room. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Alright.
Let me just sign off here now and save the recording. We go to WhatsApp for a couple of minutes
Okay.
and then go. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.